Ideal sunshine, but kind of breezy, kind of chilly tomorrow with highs in the upper 40s. Sunshine, lighter winds, high.
In Frederick County, Maryland.
This one can feel, I agree with Chris, has to be also what did Russia do and how can we prevent it from happening in the future? And when this president still cannot accept and cannot admit that there even was an interference from Russia as he stands beside Putin and tells him that he's right and our national security apparatus is wrong, there's an issue with that.
Conservative radio talk show is Chris Busker, Democrat exchange is Maria Cardona. Thank you both. Thanks, David. I want to bring in Aisha Rasco, covers the White House for NPR. Hi, Aisha.
Good morning.
You were listening there.
자, 월요일입니다. 출발할까요? 트럼프 대통령이 계속 러시아 스캔들로 괴로워하는군요. 멀러 리포트가 발표됐는데 주말에 어떻게 되는지는 모르겠네요.
They've talked about election security, but he has repeatedly kind of backtracked, gone back and forth on whether Russia actually interfered, whether Putin knew about it, whether he directed it. And so all of these issues, I think now, is Trump going to take a different tact on that?
Could this be a place where Democrats and the White House can come together and say, let's protect our elections?
Realistically, I don't know. I think they will come together on protecting the elections, but the focus on Russia, I'm not sure that they will have the same perspective. I think that there will still be clashes there.
A lot of political considerations to consider, as well as we head towards a big election next year. NPR's Aisha Rasco covers the White House for NPR. Thanks as always, Aisha.
Thank you.
내년에 대통령 선거가 어떻게 될지 진짜 궁금하네요. 트럼프가 재선을 하게 될지, 민주당이 가져갈지. 가장 좋은 것은 버니 샌더스가 되는 게 가장 좋긴 하겠지만 민주당이 아마 트럼프를 더 좋아하지 않을까? 민주당이.
This week during our spring membership campaign. Today's the first day of this brief but important 5-day campaign. We are getting closer to our goal this hour of $3,000. What part of that amount can you do to help us get over the top and make it there by 7 o'clock? In these next few minutes, make your contribution. Go to WAMU.org or call 800-248-8850 to do your part to support Morning Edition and WAMU.
금요일이 노는 날이었는데요.
Support for WAMU comes from Marilyn Smith's part-time and online MBA programs with rigorous academics, flexible class times, and the options and opportunities to lead fearlessly. More at rhsmith.umd.edu. JK Moving Services, an independently operated moving company in North America specializing in international relocation. JK offers residential moving service, storage, and asset management. Learn more at jkmoving.com. The Embassy of Japan, celebrating the gift of cherry trees from Japan to Washington, D.C., and a friendship with the United States that continues to blossom. Celebrating the little flower with a big story.
Morning Edition is 40. Time flies. Hi, I'm Rachel Martin, and you understand the world better because you listen. Support understanding. Join the listeners who give every month.
Take that next step. Go from being just a listener to an active supporting member of WAMU 88.5 to support Morning Edition and all the programs you rely on here on WAMU. On this Monday morning, make your gift at WAMU.org. Just click the beating heart where it says donate or call 800-248-8850. On this Monday morning with me, the executive producer of 1A, Rupert Allman. Good morning.
Good morning, Matt. A lot of people sometimes say, why support WAMU when you can get it for free? And it's a good question. But at the heart of it is because folks listening really are willing to take responsibility for something that I rely on and you rely on. We've got big targets to meet today and all weeks. We hope you can help us get us over the finishing line. Today, I'm asking you to give what you can to this fantastic station. Our costs are real. We count on your financial support every day for everything that goes into our broadcast, be it transmitters or production equipment, power bills, you name it. You make it all possible. And we're relying on you today and this week to do your part. So please click on that beating heart.
새로운 옛날 폰으로 녹화를 하고 있는데 얼마나 오랫동안
the costs are real. WAMU invests more than $31,000 a week to bring you Morning Edition. It starts your day by taking you where the important important news is happening every day. This morning, we have been hearing the analysis of the Attorney General's summary of the Mueller report. We'll continue to hear that through the morning today. But whatever the news of the day is, you know that on Morning Edition, you will be informed when you start your day by tuning to WAMU 88.5 and listening to Morning Edition. It starts your day right, whether it's learning about the weather in the Washington region or what's going on with national and international news. We are here
수많은
for
사람들의
you every day. Make your gift now. 800-248-8850.
생각이
Be
좋지
here
않은
for
세상.
WAMU. Give at WAMU.org.
Want to talk about the socks?
Yeah, the socks are great.
인간만으로는 다 알 수 없는 세상이죠.
Basically, they're $12 a month or a one-off fee of $144. If you can help us to kind of make that contribution, you'll get these fantastic cherry blossom socks. And we're told they're a limited supply. They're going to go fast.
Indeed, and they've been popular in previous campaigns. This is their last spring campaign was actually when these were introduced, and this is the last campaign. This is the curtains going down on the cherry blossom socks. So take a look at those at WAMU.org. They are fabulous. And they've been a very popular thank you gift last spring. And so far, in the run up to this campaign, the big campaign, $12 a month. Think about that as a sustaining member of WAMU 88.5. And it's what we all do together. You know, we talk about $31,000 a week for Morning Edition. That's a lot of money over the course of a year, but it's each $12 a month contribution when you and your friends and neighbors all around the region come together to help us meet this overall obligation for our dues to NPR. It's the way Morning Edition and NPR work. Station pays dues to NPR to be able to broadcast Morning Edition. Stations with more listeners have dues that are a bit higher. We are very fortunate to be in an area where a lot of folks listen to public radio and appreciate Morning Edition. We need to also have correspondingly more of you give to support WAMU 88.5
NPR은
and
당연히
the
광고
great
없는
work
대신에
here every
이렇게
day
기부금을
from
받아서
David
운영하는
Green,
것
Steve
같은데요.
Rachel,
아마 일부겠죠.
Okay. Go to WAMU.org now to make your contribution. Give
정부의 보조를 받는지는 모르겠습니다. 아마도 받을 것
however you get in
같은데
touch with
하지만
us. Now's the time.
크게 영향을 받지
And it's
않는
worth repeating that again, the biggest source of income for stations like WAMU are you, the listener. We are in the pocket of no one but you. So please think about how much you value this service and give what you can. We know you value the role of public radio in your life, whether you're listening in Washington, Maryland, in Virginia. This is the time to give what you can and join those who are already sustaining members. Please click on the beating heart at WAMU.org or call us at 800-248-8850.
Good morning. My name is Karen Edom, and I'm the Associate General Manager at WAMU. The cost of acquiring programs at WAMU is quite expensive, and in fact, the cost of Morning Edition, the program you're hearing right now, is very expensive. The cost to WAMU is roughly $1.6 million annually, and that cost is partly determined by the size of our audience. So we're fortunate to have such a large audience listening to us day in and day out. And if you're listening to us right now, I would consider that as an important factor in your decision to make a contribution, because that program alone is a significant investment that we make on behalf of the members.
And we are asking you to support Morning Edition with your gift now, 800-248-8850 or WAMU.org. And everyone who donates today is automatically entered into a drawing to win a theatrical DC staycation. You begin your evening with a dinner at Photoshop Brazilian Steakhouse, $150 gift certificate for the meal there. And then the Shakespeare Theater, you would get 2 A-level tickets to see the classic
온도는
tragedy
45도,
or
그렇게 따뜻한 날씨는
April 30th and June 2nd. After the show, spend the night at the historic Kimpton Hotel Monaco and the downtown theater district.
날씨가 되고
Everyone who gives today is
또
automatically entered in this drawing. You don't have to give to enter,
원주민들의
but
말에
we hope you will
따르면
make your contribution. You can learn all about it at WAMU.org or when you
무더운
call
날씨가
800-248-8850
하고 그런 습기 많은 여름
Your
날씨가 될
contribution
거랍니다.
today ensures that WAMU has the resources to stay with the story. So please, act now. Make your Monday meaningful. Get off to a great start. Help us keep this radio station strong by click on the beating heart at WAMU.org.
Join Philip from Silver Spring, Scott from Washington, and Cindy from Falls Church.
라디오
All given
방송의
this hour.
형태는
We are closing out the 6
TV에
o'clock
밀려서
hour. We're still getting
서양
right up to the
산업이
goal. You can put us over the
거라고
top with your gift now at
외쳐냈는데 다시 부활하고 있거든요.
800-248-8850.
여러
We're
가지
online at
이유가 있겠지만
WAMU.org. This is WAMU 88.5 Washington,
운전자에게는
WRAU 88.3 Ocean City, and live at
아마
WAMU.org.
아주 효과적인 그리고 또
From NPR
지금처럼
News in Washington, I'm Giles Snyder. President Trump is
시각
celebrating the
정보가
findings that have been outlined by Attorney
넘쳐나는
General
시각
William
정보
Barr in the
홍수의
Special Counsel's
시대에는
Russia
오히려
report.
청각을 공략하는 게 가장 빠른 길일지도 모릅니다.
It's a shame that our country had to go through this, Yes, it's a shame that your president has had to go through this before I even got elected.
Trump speaking late yesterday at the airport in Florida before he returned to Washington. The wrangling, though, has only just begun. Senator Kamala Harris of California is among the Democrats calling for the full report from Special Counsel Robert Mueller to be made public. Georgia Public Broadcasting Stephen Fowler reports from the presidential candidates rally in Atlanta.
In front of about 3,000 people at Morehouse College, Harris said the
트럼프
full findings of an
대통령이
investigation
갔었던
into Russian
모양이군요.
interference into the 2016 election needed to be released for transparency's sake.
And the Attorney General of the United States must be required to come and testify before Congress.
민주당은 계속 공세를 이어가는군요.
Instead of just submitting a
법무장관이
four-page memo
왜 나가서 증언하라고?
That four-page memo from
하지만
Attorney General
일단
William Barr said the special counsel did
특별검사
not find
몰라
evidence President Trump's campaign conspired with Russia in the
특별검사의
election, but it did
보고서에는
not take
뭐
a position on
대통령이나
whether Trump
다른
obstructed
사람들에 대한
justice
기소
during the
의견은
investigation.
없었다는 걸로
For NPR News,
알려지고
I'm Stephen
있는데요.
Fowler in Atlanta.
Israeli
주말에
Prime Minister
어떻게
Benjamin
더
Netanyahu
알려지게
is cutting
되는지
short his
모르겠습니다.
latest visit to Washington, and the Israeli military says it is sending reinforcements to the border with Gaza following a rocket attack that wounded 7 people. The attack destroyed a home in central Israel. Netanyahu says he will fly back home immediately after he meets with President Trump at the White House today. Some U.S. Border
Israel,
Patrol
Netanyahu.
interior highway checkpoints in West Texas and New Mexico are closed. Mitch Gordon with Marfa Public Radio reports that agents are being reassigned to help deal with large numbers of people crossing into the U.S. illegally.
Customs and Border Protection, or CBP, checkpoints that normally stop drivers along highways near El Paso are closed. That's according to U.S. Congressman Henry K.R. The checkpoint closures extend into New Mexico and are a part of an effort for CBP personnel to help deal with the rising numbers of asylum seekers coming into the country. In the last month, Border Patrol agents caught around 500 people a day illegally crossing into its El Paso sector. Representative KR doesn't know how long the checkpoints will be closed. For NPR, I'm Mitch Borden.
In Thailand, the elections over the weekend are exposing political divisions. The election was the first since a military coup in 2014. Unofficial results show a military-backed party won the popular vote. The rivals raised doubts about Sunday's election. Both sides now say that they should form a government. And from Washington, you're listening to NPR News.
This is WAMU 88.5's Morning Edition. I'm Matt McCleskey with Regional News. Montgomery County is awarding $200,000 to faith-based organizations to cover security costs because of a recent spike in hate crimes against religious groups. WAMU's Sasha Ann Simons has more.
Local faith-based organizations can use the funding to cover the cost of security personnel, planning measures, and training for their teams. The one-time grant will be split between a dozen groups, including African American churches and those of Muslim and Jewish faith. Nearly 50 religious groups applied, and county staff say they approved those at highest risk of being the target of a hate crime. Officials say the grant was created after the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting last October. For WAMU, I'm Sasha Ann Simons.
종교인이라고 자기들을 생각하는 자칭 종교인들 간의 혐오, 증오 범죄, 뉴질랜드 사건도 있었고요. 종교마다
taking on the overall number 1 seed Duke Friday night here in Washington at Capital Arena. In the NCAA Women's Tournament, Maryland hosts UCLA tonight in College Park.
자칭 추정한다고 하는 사람들은 왜
Hockey,
그렇게
Boston Capitals won at home yesterday, beating the Philadelphia Flyers 3-1. The Caps are set to visit the White House today for a private ceremony to celebrate last season's Stanley Cup win. Weather today for the Washington region, cloudy skies, occasional rain likely to develop as we get into the later afternoon and evening. High today should be in the upper 50s. We're back to Morning Edition in just a moment. This is our spring membership campaign week, though, here at WAMU. Thank you so much to everyone who contributed in the last hour by going to WAMU.org and clicking donate, or who called 800-248-8850. As we get into this 7 o'clock hour, it's a big goal, a $15,000 goal this hour, a large number, but what part of that can you do? Is it $10 a month as a sustaining member? Perhaps $20 a month as a sustaining member? What you get at WAMU.org. Think about what Morning Edition means to you and what you can do to support it here on WAMU 88.5. With me this hour, the executive producer of 1A, Rupert Allman. Good morning, Rupert.
Good morning, Matt. We are off to a fantastic start on this vital spring campaign. To Scott in Washington, D.C. and Flip in Silver Spring, you've already given, thank you very much indeed. Be one of the first to show your support for WAMU. You can do that right now
give at WAMU.org. Call 800-248-8850.
Listener support is absolutely crucial to what we do. It allows WAMU to survive and to thrive. If you value public radio, if you value WAMU and all the fantastic programs like Morning Edition and 1A and Kojo, now is the time to show how much you care about the service. Please do give what you can at WAMU.org or call us at 800-248-8850.
And all through this morning, we'll continue hearing reaction and analysis to the Attorney General's summary of the Mueller report. Just in the next few minutes on Morning Edition, we'll be hearing from Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut, Democrat of Connecticut, giving his response through the morning. We'll be hearing various perspectives, including those of voters around the country, how people have been reacting in the hours since the
진짜 민주당이 버니 샌더스를 자기 당의 대통령 후보로 내세우지 않는 한 트럼프하고 겉으로 싸우는 척, 견제하는 척하는 것은 다 쇼라고 생각을 합니다. 물론 제 개인적인 생각이죠. 정치인들, 특히 양당대 상황에서 글쎄요,
a cloud-based phone service
제대로
for
된
small
양당대가
businesses
있을지.
with features to automatically route and provide custom messages to callers. Ooma, the smartphone for your business. More at ooma.com.
This is Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm Rachel Martin in Washington, D.C.
And I'm David Green in Culver City, California. After 2,800 subpoenas, 500 search warrants, and some 500 witness interviews, the special counsel investigation into whether the Trump campaign coordinated with Russia during the 2016 election is over. Special counsel Robert Mueller's conclusion: President Trump did not conspire or coordinate with Russia to interfere with the election. Now, Mueller left open the question of whether the president may have obstructed justice, but the Department of Justice says they are not going to be prosecuting that. There's just not evidence. We're going to hear now from Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut, who's a Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee. Good morning, Senator.
혐의가 없다라고 얘기를 했던 모양이군요.
Thanks for coming on. Let me just ask you first, do you accept the special counsel's finding that there was no collusion, no coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia?
The conclusion of the Attorney General, William Barr, is that the evidence did not establish that there was no conspiracy or that there was a conspiracy or effort to collude. But that implies an absence of evidence. What we really need to see is what the findings and facts and evidence was. The American people deserve the Mueller report, not just the Barr report. In fact, this summary conclusion from Attorney General Barr is completely inadequate, and if I might say, it is very elegantly but brazenly devious in framing the message without providing the substance.
Although, I mean, the AG quoted from Mueller's report. I mean, are you suggesting, if you're saying it's brazen, are you suggesting that if the report is made public, you're going to see something totally different? Do you honestly think that the Attorney General would do that?
We have no idea what the report will show. Hopefully it will be made public. But the question
and the Attorney General said he wants to make it public. I mean, are you going to take him at his word and work with him to make that happen?
I will take him at his word, trust but verify. And if he's really serious about transparency, he should support my legislation that would require full disclosure and transparency of all the findings and evidence. The American people paid for this report. They deserve to know what's in it. And that legislation is bipartisan. The cause of full transparency and disclosure is and should be bipartisan. But the more important question is, what is the evidence on obstruction? Because the absence of evidence on conspiracy might well be the result of destruction of evidence or witness tampering or other kinds of obstruction. So the American people deserve full transparency and complete disclosure on the entire report, particularly because it says, and it's one of the few parts of the Mueller report that is actually quoted, that there is no conclusion on obstruction of justice. It does not, repeat, not exonerate him on that issue.
Well, let me just ask you, Senator, I mean, obviously there's going to be debate over when and to what extent the report is made public. I mean, let's say that happens. Let's say there's no new bombshell in there. Can you assure the American people that you're not going to continue investigating to a point that it's like a fishing expedition. That unless there's not some new bombshell that you see in Mueller's findings, I mean, you're getting close to moving on.
이렇다면 미국 국민들이 몰러 리포트, 몰러 특별검사 당연히 비용을 댔겠죠, 세금으로. 이제 그런 것을 하나의 이유로 들어서 그 보고서 내용을 다 공개를 해야 된다. 뭐 그런 얘기를 하는데 뭐 민주당이든 공화당이든 언론이든 어느 지지층의 이론들이라도 편리할 때, 필요할 때는 꼭 소위 말하는 American people, 미국 국민들을 들먹이죠. 정작 국민들이 뭔가 필요한 것이 있을 때는 전혀 신경 쓰지 않고 자기들의 어젠다에 신경 쓰면서 말이죠. 뭐 이렇게 미국만의 문제는 아니고 아마 모든 국가 시스템의 변화들이겠죠.
Isn't that a separate thing? I mean, are you, if that is what is truly important here, I mean, whether a foreign government is able to interfere in an American election, are you willing, you can't investigate everything, are you willing at some point to shift the emphasis away from presidential wrongdoing to working with Republicans in the White House to make sure that our country's election system is protected?
좀 선거 시스템 개혁하자고 많이들 하죠. 이를테면 블록체인 시스템을 이용한 좀 더 효율적이고 비용 거의 들지 않고 그 다음에 아주 직접 선거제도로 갈 수 있는데 정치인들이 왜 그건 신경 쓰지 않고 이상한 얘기들만 할까요? 아마 직접 민주주의는 도저히 감당할 수 없기 때문에 그러지 않을까 싶기도 하고요. 뭐 어쨌든 정치 얘기하면 그렇게 재밌는 것은 아닌데 오늘 아침에는 아마 멀러 리포트 때문에 정치 얘기가 계속되고 있는 것 같습니다.
Well, I thought it was interesting at the end when you asked the question of impeachment, right? That this question is that has hung over Congress since the beginning, and he didn't take it off the table. I will note that impeachment has to begin in the House, and over there, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, even before the bar report came out, essentially was trying to take impeachment off the table, has said that it was not something worth pursuing, that in order to go down that path, any evidence would have to be, in her words, overwhelming and bipartisan. I think what the result that we have today is that that's not amounting much, and that impeachment is slowly being taken off the table by the reality. And the reality is that President Trump was delivered a political victory yesterday. And the questions of collusion
일단 정치적으로는 탄핵은 고려의 대상이 아닌 모양이거든요. 어제 트럼프 대통령이 정치적인 승리를 선언을 했다라고 얘기를 하는데 아마 멀러 리포트에 대해서 자신감이 있는 모양이고 아니면 아까 얘기한 대로 그야말로 폭탄이라고 할 만한 그런 충격적인 내용이 포함되지 않은 것은 확실한 모양입니다. 트럼프 대통령 그렇다면 빨리 북미 평화회담을 잘 마무리했으면 좋겠는데요. 전쟁을 한다라는 것은 글쎄요. 좋아하는 사람은 극소일 수이고 모든 사람, 미국 국민부터 모든 사람들이 피해를 받는 게 전쟁인데
Well, I do think Democrats have to tread carefully here. I will note that a lot of the oversight that Democrats have been pursuing is not related to the president and not related to Russia. I think you're going to see tonally a shift from a lot of Democrats who are very eager to talk about things like rising drug prices or any other number of policy issues that they've been looking to investigate. I don't think these investigations go away. I think that the Intelligence Committee and the Oversight Committee are still very much, they're going to want to hear from the Attorney General. They are going to continue to fight over the documents. There are any other number of lines of inquiry into this administration that don't necessarily involve the Russia hotel. The Russia investigation.
Right.
I do think Democrats will also point to the fact that there are still elements of the president's orbit under investigation coming out of the Southern District of New York and other places. So they're not going to walk away from this. But politically, I do think Democrats have to be sensitive to the fact that people all over the world are waking up this morning to headlines that say Robert Mueller says no collusion. And that is a political reality that if they don't tread carefully,
they will ultimately run the risk of looking like they are on a fishing expedition. And so the oversight of this administration did get a little bit harder for them this morning politically, but it's certainly not going to stop.
트럼프 대통령의 한정승이 되지 않을까 싶네요.
Absolutely.
로버트 몰러 검사 보고서의 결과가 말이죠.
China's President Xi Jinping paid a visit to Rome recently, and by the time it was all over, Italy had become the first major Western power to endorse China's global infrastructure ambitions. Critics say Italy's endorsement will embolden China's global economic influence, and not in a good way. Here's NPR's Silvia Paggioli.
Memorandum di intesa tra il governo della Repubblica Italiana e il governo della
请中国全国政协副主席、国家发展改革委主任何立峰和意大利。In a sumptuous Renaissance villa, Chinese President Xi Jinping listened as Italian and Chinese speakers announced the signing of a memorandum of understanding.
자, 다 왔습니다.